Alright, so we're going to be talking about transversals again, but we're going to be talking about cases where M and N are parallel, and we're going to specifically talk about just parallel lines to go through this. So angle 2 is 65, angle 6 is 65. Now I want to find the rest of the angles. I know 2 and 4 are vertical angles, which makes that 65 as well. Since 6 and 8 are vertical, that's 65 as well. Now, 1 and 2 are a linear pair, so 115 plus 65 add up to 118. Or 180. Same down here, 65 and 115, 65 and 115, and if you're following a pattern, notice that there's only two numbers, 65 and 115. It's always going to be like that. If these two are parallel, there's only going to be two numbers used. Each one will be used 4 times. Alright, so now let's take a look at same side interior angles. Let's look specifically at same side interior, like 4 and 5 for instance, these two right here. And then let's look at same side exterior angles. Let's take angle 2 and angle 7. Think about the relationship between those. What do you see? What word best describes the relationship? Hopefully you were thinking of supplementary. 65 and 115 add up to 180. 65 and 115 add up to 180. Same side angles are supplementary. So, let's take a look at this. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, which basically just describes the picture, the following angle pairs are congruent and supplementary. We already found out which ones were supplementary. Same side interior and same side exterior. Now let's take a look at alternate exterior angles. Let's look at angle 1 and angle 7. Alternate across the transversal, they're exterior, and they're both congruent. Let's look at same side interior, 4 and 6. Angle 4 and angle 6. They're inside, they're across the transversal, and they're also congruent. And the last one we had was corresponding. Angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. So angle 1 is 115, angle 5 is 115. Those are also congruent. So let's start working on angle pairs. We have this. Hopefully we take a minute, write this down so that we could talk about which ones are congruent and kind of work through it a little bit quicker. So we know angle 9 is 80 degrees, and we know angle 5 is 68. Alright, now find the measure of the following angles. The hard part here is I can use 1 through 4 with 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I can use 5 through 8 with 11 or 13 through 16. I cannot use 1 through 4 with 5, 6, 7, and 8. You need 2 parallel lines and 1 transversal line. So let's separate this. I want to treat it as 2 different pictures. This bottom half that has 2 parallel lines and 1 transversal, this top half with 1 transversal. So angle 13 is in this bottom picture, and it's corresponding with angle 5. So if angle 5 is 68, so is angle 13. Angle 1 is in the top half of the picture, and 1 and 9 are corresponding angles, which means that's 80 as well. Angle 4, well here, let me put 80 in here. Angle 1 and angle 4 are a linear pair, which means that's 100. Angle 15 is on the bottom half. It's an exterior angle. It's outside of these 2 parallel lines. The parallel lines are right here, so anything between them are interior angles, anything outside of them are exterior. 5 and 15 are alternate exterior angles, which makes them congruent. Okay, so let's start working on one. P and Q are parallel, they're cut by a transversal. Find the measure of angle 1. So we need to find 1. I know 1 is the same as this one because they're vertical, and I know that these two are the same because they're alternate interior angles. So if I find any one of those angles, I found all of them. So let's go ahead and find x. Let's subtract 2x from both sides. Let's go ahead and add 5. So you get x is 15. When I go ahead and plug 15 back in, I get that this angle's 40. So angle 1 is also 40 because those two, 1 and this angle down here, are corresponding angles. So in real life, where do we see parallel lines? Take a look at the John Hancock Tower. Those lines going straight up and down are parallel. We also see them in crosswalks. You also see them at O'Hare. These are the runways at O'Hare. It seems very safe for them to be crossing. But parallel lines here, parallel lines here. You even have transversals. This picture here is an optical illusion. It doesn't actually look like they're straight lines, but when I slide the two straight lines in, they are straight. If you're able to follow it carefully, it is straight lines. Let's go back to another problem. We need to find x and y separately. Okay, so take a look at the two angles that have x in it. We'll do this in blue. Those two are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm going to add 55. Divide by 2. I got x is 30. All right. Now I'm going to look at the two that have y's in them. They're on the same side, and they're both on the inside. Since they're both on the inside, that means they're same side interior angles, and same side interior angles are supplementary. Supplementary, remember, means adds up to 180. 3y plus y gets you 4y. Negative 20 plus 20 cancels out. Y is going to be 45. So we got x and y. Remember, you cannot set up an equation that has x and y in the same equation. You have to look at just x separately. You have to look at just y separately. So example 4, I only have one thing that has y in it. So I need to use the ones with x. So I'm going to take the ones with x. Now, it's in a triangle, which makes it more confusing. It's not because we have a parallel line. Let me get some dotted lines here. We have one transversal. We have a parallel line here and a parallel line here. Look at that part of the picture only. If you can focus just on part of the picture, you can see that the 5x minus 5 and the 4x plus 10 are corresponding angles. So I'm going to take those corresponding angles we saw earlier were congruent. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides, and I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get x is 15. Now that I found x, I have to use that to find y. I'm going to plug it in right here. 5 times 15 is 75. Minus 5 gives me that angle is 70 degrees. That angle, the 5x minus 5, and the 6y minus 4, they make a linear pair, which means they're supplementary. If that's 70, that one's 110 degrees. Now that I know that that's 110 degrees, I'm going to solve. You're going to get y is 19. So we found x and y.